we love people, and we love actors that bring enthusiasm and energy. I think there's just nothing more important in this industry than being yourself, because we are creating families, some of which, those characters will stay in for subsequent seasons. And we want to work with, kind and generous people that are going to be really great company members. And I think just having actors that, come with, that are that take direction well, and are like malleable in that way, and want to work as part of a team is really important. And just be, just be well prepped, and it's okay to make bold choices as well. I think that's exciting. It might not be right, and it might not feel like our vision for that role, but we can steer you in the right direction.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the show. Today I'm joined by Faye Timby, who's casting assistant at Sophie Holland Casting and best known for her work on the hit Netflix show The Witcher. Now, if you've been anywhere near social media during this lockdown, you've probably come across the Casting Crushes Corona initiative, which was the brainchild of Sophie and Faye and brought to life with the help of the guys over at We Audition, all really with the premise of giving back and connecting casting professionals with actors and artists during this crazy time we're all going through. So I suppose with that ethos in mind, Faye, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me, and how are you?
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Surviving and thriving, I think, as best as one can, right? Yeah. I'm sure we'll get into it. I do want to talk about what you're doing beyond just Casting Crushes Corona during this time, because I'm sure, you have your own life beyond what social media suggests. So we'll touch on that. But before we do, as I always do, gloss over a little bit at the beginning with people's background, that it'd be nice to get in your words, I guess, your backstory a little bit. How have you got to where you are right now? What's your journey been?
Yeah, of course. Kind of a strange mix, really. So I knew I wanted to work in casting from quite a young age, probably from about the age of 15 or so, because I went to an open casting when Fiona Weir was casting the Harry Potter films. And she just seemed the most important person in the room. And in my mind, she was like the Simon Cowell of the acting world. So I decided I wanted to be her. And that became a fixation, I guess. And no one really knew what casting was back then, or how it worked, or how to kind of move into it. So I just studied drama at theatre arts at university. And then it was only when I was at university that I became aware of the CDG website. Mm-hmm. So I just started writing to people, and got nothing back, obviously. And then I'd worked with a director called Steve Marmion, who became the artistic director at Soho Theatre. So he put me in touch with lovely Nadine Rennie, who was their in-house casting director, and she gave me a month's work experience, which was amazing. And then there was another lovely casting director called Laura Dickens, who lived down the road from me, and she gave me my first ever professional job. And it kind of went from there, but I got sidetracked when I left university because I couldn't really get my foot in the door in any of the casting offices, or indeed in any of the agencies. I applied for internships, and casting was there was less of a demand for casting directors back then, I think, because this was back in 2012.
There's a demand now, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there just wasn't as much content being produced back then. So it was very rare to find a casting director who had all the assistants they used were like freelance. And for me, wanting to stay in London, it just provided no sense of job security. So I went to work for a theatre producer for a couple of years, which was amazing. His name was Ollie Royds, and he taught me a great deal about the business and was very kind to me and really took me under his wing. And also his marketing manager, Helen Snell. So I kind of got a bit of a taste of a few different things. And then I left because I knew I didn't want to be a producer. And I went to Australia for a bit to work for a theatre company out there that we've been working with in London. Came back and then took maternity cover at a theatre as a front of house manager, and that for 7 months, and then got a job in an agency, and I stayed there for, I hadn't really planned to, but I ended up staying for 3.5 years. I just got very comfortable, and
Right.
the money was nice, and I loved my team. And then that kind of became not enough. So I'd actually planned to move to a bigger kind of corporate agency, but no one wanted me.
Okay. Maybe
So,
that turned out for the best in some way.
yeah, it did for sure. And then lovely Annalie Powell, who's the theatre casting director, she we were quite friendly, and she needed an assistant for a few months, so she gave me a job, God bless her, and has been like a mentor to me kind of ever since. And then that's how I got the job with Sophie, because her and Sophie are friends. So when I knew Sophie was looking, and I wrote to her, Annalie very kindly gave me a glowing reference. And then I guess the rest
overnight
is
success.
history.
Overnight success.
Yeah,
Clearly.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like now. It's like, oh, this casting person on The Witcher, she's clearly just like, been doing this forever. So it's always
No,
good
not
to
at
hear
all.
about this sort of climb, because everybody has it, right? And
Of course, and also, within that there were massive ups and downs. I had as I'm sure lots of assistants experience. Sometimes you find yourself in tricky situations with current employers or ex-employers, and that can kind of take its toll on your mental health, just as it does with actors, I imagine, when every time you don't get a job. So
with anybody, really. It's interesting. I
course.
had someone I spoke to on the show the other day, who I know from when I was working in the digital marketing world, and we were talking about when we had teams, when we're in teams, what makes a good team, which is kind of ambiguous. But I think ultimately it was kind of like, you want to feel a little bit like, so corny, like a family. But you do, like, you don't want to feel like you're being told what to do. You want to feel like the people are actually interested in you as a person, not just as a cog in the machine. And from afar, and that's all this is, that's kind of how it seems like you are with Sophie and her team. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'll let you speak to that.
My gosh, no, not at all. That's exactly it. And I think, as well, to be candid, there's there's a lot of bullying that goes on in the industry, by senior members of staff and HODs, and I know plenty of assistants who have kind of been through the mill and back, and Sophie and I have both been on the receiving end of that. So when we finally came together, I think we, in a way, united over past experiences, and we really very much are like a family. I couldn't ask to work for and with someone who's kinder or more thoughtful or more generous than she is.
That's how you're going to do your best work as an individual, as you, Faye, but also as a team, right? And then it's no surprise that now you're casting or if not, at least one of the biggest shows that's out there. And good things, it's, again, I'm going all Hallmark here, but it is kind of true. Good things do come to people who just have a moral compass and do good things and do unto others as they would unto themselves. And I think it is kind of shining through with obviously the show. But let's kind of, while this is a a great segue. It's like I planned it. But
I
with
love this.
with Casting Crushes Corona, it is kind of like
Yeah.
it kind of seems like that's just a natural extension. It's almost as if to say it just was inevitable in some ways that, you know, that ethos would spill into what you're doing here. But
Mm.
let's like how did that kind of come to be? You know, that whole thing is taken off now. It's gone nuts. But what was that moment like when you two were just, I don't know, chatting over wine or wherever it was and brainstorming? Like, how did that come into fruition?
Yeah, sure. Well, again, like it's interesting because I think it stems back to, really Sophie's ethos in the sense of, wanting to give people opportunities. And certainly I was a huge part of that. I know that there were lots of um, assistants or associates who applied for my job who were far more experienced than I was, but I mean, God knows I was enthusiastic. Um, so and she really took a chance on me, and hopefully I hope that she feels that has paid off. Um, and so just this sense of wanting to give back, I think, and also Sophie's such a socialist at heart, as am I, and she runs her office in a very meritocratic way. So everyone, it's all about giving opportunities to new talent, and finding the best people for the job regardless of profile. So I just think it sort of feeds into her way of thinking, and as a result I've learnt so much from her. So when this all happened, it was just that sense of wanting to give back, and what can we do, and I have friends that are doctors, and I can sit on social and say how wonderful the NHS are, and what a great job they're doing. But actually, unfortunately, I can't really do anything to help. That doesn't offer any sort of like, it's not offering anything tangible. So I thought, okay, well, what in our position, what is it that we can do? And so, interestingly, I was talking to my flatmate one night, who's an actress, and just saying, surely there's some sort of good that can come out of this. Like, we must be able to offer something. And she really encouraged me. And then I just had this idea of giving back one-to-ones, because Sophie loves to have general meetings anyway in the office, and more often than not we get new graduates in, and new talent that might be over in the UK maybe for a week, or someone new and exciting from Europe that an agency signed. So we're used to meeting a multitude of different actors from different backgrounds all the time. So I just had this idea that we could offer some one-to-ones online, and then took it to her, and she thought it was such a great idea, and actually then just enhanced it by suggesting that we work with the guys at We Audition to give us a platform to make that possible, and thus Casting Crushes Corona was born.
And went and then trended and got you in deadline.com, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's like, how did that little thing, it's mental in a great
Yeah,
way.
yeah, crazy actually. And there's no denying that hopefully it has helped to raise our profile a little bit, or certainly mine. Most people know who Sophie is, quite rightly.
Hmm.
But I mean that was just a kind of perk on the side, but actually the the kind of gratification we get from it is just speaking to the actors every day and knowing that it's going some way to help with their mental health.
That's the other thing, isn't it? I think that's
Yeah.
interesting because, you know, there's not a whole lot we can do right now. And I think it's at least giving an idea of the industry cares, community. As an actor, I don't feel like I'm isolated. It feels, I mean, it's not the most secure of professions anyway at the best of times.
No.
So it is that, yeah, mental health game, which is a much longer game than whatever this virus is going to be, that
Yeah.
we have to be super mindful of. And yeah, I think, you know, I can't imagine, like, as a fresh grad, for example, who's supposed to
Yeah.
have a showcase this year, what your thoughts would be like. Or I know film students and this is their final year and their projects have been nerfed, and you're like, wow, you know, everybody's trying to just churn through whatever their feelings are around this. And so to give back like you guys have is pretty awesome, and to give your time to that. And in turn, to break, we audition a little bit too. I spoke to Rich a few weeks ago, and he was like, "We're not surprised that this happened, but it's almost like we had to really quickly do a lot of stuff in the space of a week to get everything up to speed to handle it."
Yeah, to handle the volume, I think, of actors that were logging on at any one time.
Yeah.
Those boys, Rich and Darren, have done a really incredible job, actually. And it's so easy to use. And I think one of the things I love about it is anyone who's used it to log on with either Sophie or I or another casting director, because we've been lucky enough that lots of people have jumped on board to offer one-to-ones as well, which is amazing. There's like a chat group along the side, so just having this like real sense of community where actors can talk to one another. And I've noticed a little bit sometimes they follow one another on socials, or someone the other day said like, "Oh, I've written this play and I'd really love to do a reading, is anyone interested?" So like just creating a space where people can connect with each other feels amazing.
I mean, that's what this is, right? It's all one big community anyway. So I think, in some ways, not that meeting you guys isn't incredible, but let's be fair, it's not going to be many that are going to get through to actually do it. So if anything, the other benefit is, what other connections could you make with that actor that could actually become a really good friend that you now go and make a film with?
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's such an interesting time. I was saying, was on with lovely Ross Grant the other day on Act on TV, and I was just saying, it's a strange time, because actually I think that casting offices have ever been more accessible than they are now. And I hope that actors see that and take full advantage of it. There are casting directors not just in the UK but actually all over the world. In the States, I've seen in Australia as well, that are offering these one-to-ones, and agents and theatre companies, writers. I had lovely James Graham on with me yesterday doing some one-to-ones. So I think that there are so many opportunities out there now to be had, and it's so exciting that everyone's using this time to be creative. However, I will say that on the flip side of that, it's also okay to sit at home all day in your pajamas and eat chocolate and drink wine if you're having a bad day.
That's like a window. Is that a window into your weekend?
That's a window into my Saturday night, Ashley, honestly.
Fair enough. But what's wrong with that? I think I was going to say, as you were saying that bit about creating, and I'm with you, but I totally agree. Like, but you're going to have a bad moment. It's normal, like in regular life. But in this, I get it. You get it. A couple of hours come out of nowhere where you're like, why do I feel really shit? I don't get it. And you just, sit with it, process it, don't ignore it. And don't feel like you have to sort of do something, or that there's this judgment that because everyone on social media seems to be being super creative, you have to be creative. Like, I think be okay with you mentally and spiritually first, and then once that's in place, build from there and take advantage of all these great opportunities for sure. I spoke to Daryl Eisenberg from New York a few weeks ago, and she called it the Great Equalizer, which sounded like a sort of, I don't know, Day After Tomorrow type movie title. But deep down, I kind of got where she was coming from, which is, like for an actor to connect with you guys is incredible. But then also, as you're saying, to connect with casting offices in the States, if you're in the UK, isn't that easy per se, because you're not there. And now it's like internet.
Yeah. And also, hopefully it's just a kind of like small snapshot into our lives as well. We're just human beings who have chosen to work in a different creative medium.
Don't break the illusion. Come on.
I'm so sorry.
Don't do that. I thought you were gatekeepers of Narnia. That's
my
like
gosh.
that's,
if only. Sadly, we are not.
But that is the impression that I think a lot of actors do have or have had, and I think yes, this maybe does make the veneer disappear a bit.
Yeah, but you know what, like we're just one of the cogs, and actually one of the things I say, Sophie and I both say all the time is, we're not the gatekeepers, and actually to sign off on an actor for a role, those auditions, they go through a process. You know, they go through a chain of people, and so it might feel like we wield all this power, but actually we're just kind of a small piece of the puzzle. And so I hope that this has kind of almost demystified us and our profession in a way. I mean, you know, we are just people. We do lead very normal lives. I go out and get drunk with my friends just as much as the next person. You know, I have a family. Sophie has a family. And also I think with social media, the same as it was before lockdown, a lot of it can just be white noise.
I'd say 99%.
There's a lot of shouting that goes on social media about what people are or aren't doing. It's what they're not doing when they're posting that picture or, you know, putting that video up. And yeah. I would hate for people to feel under pressure at this time to, you know, write their next novel. That's not, if just getting through each day and like surviving is all you can do, then that's enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, having worked in digital marketing, I kind of know how those systems work as well. And it's sort of, there's a psychological aspect to it that's kind of there to entrap us a little bit too. And I think we have to be super mindful of how we're consuming it and also how we're creating on it. And I think it's super powerful if we're aware of that and we use it for things like this and with what you guys are doing. But, you know, it's that whole thing of not judging yourself because it looks like someone else is living their best life on Instagram. And I think we know that on some innate level now anyway. And, you know, stuff like this, talking to you guys, because you guys are like mini celebrities sometimes on Twitter with the number of followers you get. And I think it is great to just hear about, no, you go out, you get drunk, you know, you stay on the couch on a Saturday and you know, have a cheat day and just like everybody else, you're human. Awesome. Okay, I could wax lyrical forever, but I'm not gonna because we'll just end up eating away the afternoon. So let's get to questions. Otherwise, actors are gonna write in and get really pissed off with me because they'll be like, "You didn't ask my question." So I'm not, in no particular order. Let's start with The Witcher a little bit. So Charlotte has emailed in and asked, which role in The Witcher got cast first?
Oh, good question. So that was unexpectedly, that was a Yennefer. That was Anya Chalotra.
Interesting. Before Geralt, before Henry Cavill.
Before Henry, before Freya. Yeah. So Sophie had an already established relationship with Anya. She'd given her her first audition when she was graduating from Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London, and there's actually a very sweet story, I think, on an interview that Sophie's done where Anya's father brought her to her first audition, and then unexpectedly came into the office, and I think Anya was a little bit embarrassed and flustered about him being there. But so they already had this established relationship, so she was someone who first sprung into Sophie's mind when we started to look at Yennefer. And I think it was, you know, we saw lots of actresses for that role, but I think in our hearts we knew it was Anya from the start. She just embodied the soul of that character.
There's that mysterious little, you know, aspect, that mystique that I think just you either have or you don't, right? And she clearly, you put the camera on her, and that definitely shines out in those episodes.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I was going to say, just my gut from producer mind was going, I'm sure Henry Cavill was cast first. They must have attached him from the Netflix side before they even came to you. But was that a different did he audition for that? Can you speak to what that process was like? Because he's obviously he's the name behind it that got attached, obviously.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's lots of source material online, and our showrunner, Lauren Hissrick, who is just a phenomenal woman, leader, writer. I think Henry reached out, his team reached out when they knew that Netflix were working on The Witcher, and he played the games and read the books, and he was so invested from the start. And I think Lauren kind of tentatively said, like, that's so great that you're interested, but we're just going to take a bit of time to kind of have a breather and just explore some some options. And then we met lots of actors. I think in an interview Lauren gave, she said something like, just over 200 maybe for Geralt, and a real mixture of profile actors and unknown actors. And then we circled back with Henry, and it was kind of decided, I think, that they needed to hear him read.
You need to hear those grunts that he does half the time, just to see if there was. Does the grunt have character and gravitas? Which I'm surprised how much you got out of a grunt. Each one had a different thing behind it.
I know. Such a smart actor. He's So, and so then Sophie and Lauren and our director Alex Akroff flew to New York to meet with Henry, and I think they all just instantly knew that it was him.
And I guess having his, fandom of the games and books just clearly helps the passion behind it for him, because I saw he spoke about, I think it was on the Graham Norton show or somewhere, where he did speak about being like a super video game geek. I think there's like an anecdote where he said he almost missed the call from Zack Snyder for Superman because he was playing a video game.
Oh wow, really?
He was playing Warcraft, and he said he missed it, and like he called him back, obviously, but that
sure.
Which again humanizes these people, which I think again is great for actors.
It does, and he was as dedicated and as well prepped as they come. He earned that role, and he is an incredible, not just actor but human being to have at the helm of such a huge TV series. Because he's all in, he's so invested, and he sets the pace for everyone else, which is great when you're then bringing on new talent, because I think having Henry then allowed us to I don't want to say take chances, because that's definitely the wrong terminology, and but to dig a little deeper in terms of unknown actors rather than actors of profile.
I guess it took the pressure off a little bit to feel like you didn't have to prove to Netflix that you need to just bring in names. And you guys were awesome with that, because there's just like different ages, people with different kinds of profiles. But I think that really stands out on the show, that you guys clearly were just invested in doing that. And
sorry, I'm just going to move you.
Okay, I'm seasick now, but thanks. Whilst you're spinning me around, so for you then, and you got this come through to the office. What did you know about the game and the books, if anything? Was there much awareness of that world, or was it a lot of research once it came in?
Oh no, I knew nothing.
Okay.
I knew nothing. So I so sorry, I'm going to move you again.
It's all right.
So you're getting a tour of my house now,
I am.
guys.
This feels like Cribs.
This is like Cribs.
It's just like Cribs.
A bad version of Cribs.
A bad version of Cribs. You're like, this is where I keep my 6 Bentleys.
Yeah.
Here's my walk-in closet, and here's my second walk-in closet with a jacuzzi. It's like, I
mean, honestly, I wish I had a walk-in closet. I have no such thing. So I'm so sorry. So I knew nothing.
Yeah.
So I read all the books, because obviously that's what the scripts were going to be based on. And then I have to confess, I still haven't played the video games.
If it helps, nor have I. So there we go.
Okay,
We're both
great.
we can both be flamed on Twitter, but I only have a thimble of followers. You're gonna get hit hard.
I'm gonna get some serious abuse for that. No, I still haven't played the games, unfortunately, although I certainly would like to. And then we read the scripts. I used Witcher Wiki. There's this amazing resource called Witcher Wiki, like Wikipedia for The Witcher, just to delve a little deeper into the characters. And we got kind of character backstories and character descriptions and stuff from the writer's room, which was super helpful.
And go from there. I think some of there's quite a few sort of questions that people, it kind of all overlaps a little bit, but it is it is about the diversity that obviously we've seen in the first season and some of the announcements you made for season two. So two people have asked a similar question. So Cyan and Anna Maria have both asked. We've seen a diverse ethnicity in the cast in season one. Will there be more diversity in upcoming seasons? Will there be character opportunities for diverse actors and also, I guess, international actors from the sense of maybe non-UK based ones?
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely. And, we really do search far and wide. We have lots of great relationships with agents in the States and in Australia and all across Europe as well, especially the Scandinavian agencies, because obviously the books are Slavic novels, and we really wanted to make sure we were paying homage to that. Um, and I think so. And I think if you have seen the announcements for casting of season two, we've definitely left no stone unturned in terms of not just diverse actors, but actors from all minority groups. So actors with disability and the LGBTQ community as well. And I think that's something that is so important to us in terms of the work we do, especially with something like The Witcher, because we're putting together families, and essentially the continent was for us a blank canvas, but it's also has to be a microcosm, or rather it has to be reflective of the world that we live in, and so to ensure that it's a true reflection, we have to be representing actors from all different backgrounds, both in terms of diversity and culturally as well.
I guess sort of a slight follow on from, I guess, that process of not just auditioning actors that are diverse, but auditioning generally. I've had Safa Archers asked, she's asked, what was it like to cast the first season? We've kind of touched on that, but she's then saying, what advice would you give to actors when auditioning? But I think specifically within the premise of with auditioning for your office and this show. And that's, I know, a super broad question.
That's okay. I think just in terms of auditioning in general, we love people, and we love actors that bring enthusiasm and energy. I think there's just nothing more important in this industry than being yourself, because we are creating families, some of which those characters will stay in for subsequent seasons, and we want to work with kind and generous people that are going to be really great company members. And I think just having actors that come with that are that take direction well and are like malleable in that way, and want to work as part of a team is really important. And just be well prepped, and so it's okay to make bold choices as well. I think that's exciting. It might not be right, and it might not feel like our vision for that role, but we can steer you in the right direction.
What do you think it is when actors, because I mean, look, I get it, and it takes a while to get into the audition groove because it's totally different to actually working on a set. What is it, in your opinion, that maybe stops actors from sometimes getting into that place of coming into the room and feeling like they can play and feeling like that pressure isn't there? Because I think, we've all experienced it, but you guys see so many. Like, do you see when that happens a similar kind of through line that someone here could maybe listen to and go, oh yeah, I do that, but it's nice to hear that I don't have to?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's fear, sorry. Fear of making a mistake or doing something wrong. I don't mind so much if someone stumbles over a line, if I feel like I can see the essence of that character. It's our responsibility to see beyond that. I think nerves get the better of people, understandably, especially in high pressured scenarios where it's at a recall stage, or maybe like a chemistry read, and again, it's our job to see beyond that. And also, something that I've learned from a skill I've definitely learned from working with Sophie is just being able to read people the moment they come into the room, and to identify what it is that insecurity might be, or what that struggle is, and where it comes from, and then adjusting the way in which I interact with them and work with them to get the best possible performance out of them in that moment.
It's psychology, isn't it? It's like you're
It,
kind of
it
putting
is,
them
yeah.
at ease. Here's a follow-on question that I want to bring it up or ask it, because I think it's going to be important for the person that's asked it to get this clarity. And it almost is a painful one to read, because she's saying it's Suri's asked, during the casting, when an actor walks into the room, have you already prejudged and given a yes or no by just the way they walk in? And I really empathize with that question, because I can understand, especially if you're early on, why you might think or fall into the trap of feeling like that might be
Yeah.
the case. And unfortunately, I've been, in workshops many, many years ago where I've had bad experiences where people have almost said things of that ilk to actors, and there is bad information out there. So
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say, but I think it would be great for you to almost just speak to that, and maybe let's nip this kind of thing in the bud a little bit if we
Yeah.
can.
Of course, and I think I can understand where that insecurity comes from. I mean, the first thing to say is that I really believe that if you're there and you've been what we call, you've been invited to come in and read, we already believe that you can do the job, essentially, because our time is precious, because when you're working on something as big as The Witcher, there are so many roles to cast. So you're already halfway there, whether that's because we've seen something in a previous audition, or something you've done on screen or TV, or we've met you in a workshop, or I don't know, your agent has maybe sent some footage across that we've watched, whatever it is, we've seen something in you. I mean, and also it could be down to your physical appearance, potentially, if we've got a very specific idea in mind of what we would like a character to look like. So no, and also going back to the nerves, people say and do stupid and irrational things in auditions when they're nervous. It's more common than you might think, and actually we have programmed ourselves not to prejudge, and we do really like to base our opinions on performance. That's not to say that you could come in and give a stellar performance, but if you've maybe been rude or ungrateful to be there, or I don't know, maybe you've been rude to like the assistant, or you don't take usually the casting director's direction, and it feels like you're sort of like challenging them in a way, then I think even if you've given a wonderful performance, what we then have to ask ourselves is that the kind of person that we want to put on set?
Yeah, it's almost like half of it is what's your personality like, which is what you're saying, I guess, where you're talking about a family. You're
Yeah.
almost willing to get someone whose performance you can evolve and make better and work with on the craft on set, but is a good person.
Yeah.
It's like, the person who goes on a date and treats the waiter like shit. Like
Yeah,
you're clocking
exactly.
that, and it's like, well, if you're gonna do that, come on.
Yeah, and we are a family. The team the not just Netflix, but the creative team we work with, all the cameramen, all the crew, all the producers, showrunner, right the way down to like gaffer boy. It really is like a family on set, and so we want to give them kind people that are going to be generous and respectful and work hard, and that really want to be there.
I mean, life's too short, right? I remember I remember the George Clooney quote when he was working on Three Kings, and then he kind of came off and had a really bad experience, and said after that he was like, I only want to work in a place where like I feel like we can be happy, because we're going to have challenges on set, because it's such a mammoth thing. It's such a crazy concept if you think about it for a moment, to be on a production with a set with all these moving parts. There's going to be stress, there's going to be tough moments, but you want to just work with good people that have good vibes. And again, that sounds Hallmark hippy dippy, but
No, for sure.
It's yeah, life's too short. If anything, we're kind of seeing that now. Right. I have more questions from people, but I'm going to save them. If we have time at the end, I'll get back to them. I'm just mindful that now I've got a bunch of people in a waiting room. So let's bring other people into this, so you don't just have to listen to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. So hopefully this should be Emma. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That worked seamlessly. Normally it takes a while to get video and mic working for people. I'm going to shut up. I'm just going to let you say hi to Faye, who's on the call, and ask away whatever question you've got for her.
Cool. Thank
Hi,
you.
Emma. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, lovely. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for doing all of these as well. I'm sure there's a lot of actors who appreciate all of this.
You're very welcome. How can I help?
Well, so I guess my question was really, by the way, I loved The Witcher so much I watched it in 2 days.
Oh,
when
me
it came
too.
out. It was amazing.
Thank you.
So what I really loved about it was the fact that there were so many actors who have been cast who I hadn't necessarily seen before in other things, or maybe their CVs weren't that extensive, which I thought was amazing. And I was just wondering, with coronavirus going on as it is at the moment, and obviously everything being shut down, do you think that that will still be able to continue afterwards, in terms of maybe still being able to hire actors whose CVs aren't necessarily filled with these amazing credits? Because obviously I know that we're probably going to need to get back to a point where producers are okay that maybe people are not, I don't know, safe bets or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. I mean, I hope so. I don't see why that. I can see your way of thinking entirely. I would hate to think that that would have any kind of tangible effect on the work that we do. And certainly, we've already cast quite a bit of season 2, and we were already underway filming, although that has been temporarily suspended. I think that would be such a shame. I don't see why. And also season 1, thankfully season 1 was such a huge success. And so there's kind of proofs in the pudding, it works. And actually for us, it's just so much more important to find people who embody, the souls of those characters from the books, rather than someone who's just got a really extensive CV and has a big profile and, I don't know, maybe like millions of Instagram followers. I mean, honestly, I couldn't care less.
Oh, what? I've been buying followers all week.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Have I wasted all my money?
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Damn.
No, that's really great to hear. Thank you. I think a lot of people at this time are sort of panicking, and
yeah, of course.
It's just really good to hear that people are still looking further afield for people, not necessarily with these incredible CVs, which obviously we all want, but
yeah, for sure.
Hard to get.
And I think it's completely normal for this. I think this situation we find ourselves in is quite anxiety inducing, and so it's completely normal for your head to kind of go to that place and think about the repercussions that will follow, of which I'm sure there will be a great deal, especially when it comes to insurance on big TV sets. There's a really interesting article on Deadline, actually, if you get the chance to have a read. But no, I would hate to think that finding and discovering new talent would be one of them. I doubt it, if I'm honest.
That's really great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome.
Nice to see you, Ashley.
You too. Thanks for coming. That was so Yorkshire at the end. My God.
Sorry.
Ashley. Ashley. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
I guess we don't know is the answer to that, though, right? Like, the other thing is, on the flip side, if you just think business-wise, if money's been coming out of the industry, either these bigger actors with credits are going to have to really lower their rates, or there's not maybe going to be the money to afford some of them. So it's, who knows? Also, it's Netflix as well for you guys. Like, Netflix are doing okay.
Yeah, I think Netflix are doing okay. I mean, yeah, I think that's really just the truth of it, isn't it? That we don't know, and we can only speculate as to what the industry will look like post COVID-19 or post isolation. So
I don't even know when that is yet. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing this afternoon. So.
I know, me neither.
I know what I'm doing now, though. I'm going to bring in another person. So let me bring in. Hopefully, this will be Jessica. Zoom should be instant. This shouldn't be like a 10-second delay. I'm impatient. Jessica, I hope you can hear us. And your mic isn't on, apparently.
She's going to fix it. Fear not.
That's my German side coming out. That's all it is. It's just...
It's connecting.
There we go.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
Good. Say hello to Faye and then, ask away your question.
So my question was, have you ever cast anyone just from looking at their show reel and not bringing them into the room? And if so, why?
Ooh. No. So, let me think. I don't think so, no. So because, and I suppose just to use, I mean, let's just use The Witcher as an example. I mean, when you have your A-list star come in and read, it really sets a precedence for everyone else. So we sort of had a policy on season 1 of The Witcher that's continued, which is that, everyone reads.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that it's really important.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think if there's been an occasion where I've just cast from, or we have cast from just a show reel. I don't think so. I guess it's more likely to happen with actors that have huge profile whose work extensively and who are in a kind of offer only scenario, so to speak. I think maybe there was one when I worked on Tin Star with Rachel Freck, but it does happen. But sometimes when that happens, it's actually really nothing to do with the casting office. Interestingly, that will tend to come from the production company or from the execs, that they've decided that that's who they want, or maybe that role has been written for a specific actor, and you just kind of become almost a mediator, if you will. You're just liaising with the agent and kind of putting that offer in place and making sure it gets signed off efficiently.
Cool. Just off the back of that, has there, when you've sort of been looking through actors' profiles and such, like for The Witcher, for example, and seen that they might have a reel, like for example, I have a reel on my spotlight of obviously my show reel, and then a reel of me horse riding, just to sort of say, look, I can horse ride to a really sort of like quite good level. Here's evidence. Because I know some people sort of say, oh, I can horse ride, or I can do this, but then there's that like sort of tendency where some people sort of embellish. Do you like those sorts of things?
I think it's super helpful to have. I think, to be candid, it just sort of depends what medium you're working in. I mean, if I was casting a short film and my time was limited and I needed someone that could horse ride, it would be very easy for me to do a quick spotlight search and accumulate lots of CVs within a very short space of time. On the flip side, if you're working on a huge Netflix TV series that has a substantial budget, you're looking for the right actor, and we will teach them how to horse ride.
Yeah. I suppose with skills like horse riding and stuff, they are quite kind of quick to pick up in a sense, apart from maybe like, I don't know if you are ice skating or something. Some skills, I guess, take a longer amount of time, I guess, to teach actors as
and
well.
sometimes they can film things in a way where you can have like a stunt double as well. So I think it just depends on the kind of scale of production that you're working on. But I think it's so great that you have that skill. It's always one that I tell, when actors say like, what skill could I pick up? I always think horse riding is such a great one.
Yeah, I do feel really, really lucky my mum used to horse ride when she was younger, and my sister rides as well. So it's kind of in the family, I've been really, really lucky to sort of get a lot of experience in it, not just riding, but just being a horse woman as well, because I think that's so important too.
Good. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Hope you both have a good day.
You too.
Nice
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a sort of, I guess, a follow-on question that came in of that ilk. Alejandra Costa said, what skill do you believe is most useful these days? Like, do you see anything specific in breakdowns more often than not that is something that actors maybe should look at and skill up on? But I don't know. I don't know if you do or not.
I mean, to be honest, it can kind of be, it can be anything really. I think horse riding is a great one to have, and also because it's quite accessible. And I know that there are lots of horse riding stables in and around London where you can volunteer to help look after the horses in exchange for free riding lessons.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of a more inexpensive one, which I feel is quite accessible to everyone, which is quite nice. Otherwise, I always think for actors it's really great to have an American accent for pilot season.
Whilst we're on accents, then quickly, can we flip that the other way? Because I get a lot of questions from actors I know from Spain or maybe Eastern Europe, and they're in Britain, and they're saying, what's your advice? Should I perfect a British accent, or should I focus on my niche, which has less roles, but be known as like the French or Spanish or Eastern European actor? It's a hard one, but what's your take on it?
It's really hard, and I think it depends really how you want to market yourself. I mean, if you're a European actor with a European accent and you want to work in the UK, then arguably, yes, that is your USP, but it's probably going to limit you in terms of, there's so much great British drama that's being written and produced that obviously is set in the UK that requires either a neutral British accent or an English estuary accent. I think it's always good to have as many strings to your bow as you can. So if you are in a position where you're able to perfect it, then great. And then I imagine it's kind of a conversation to be had with your agent as like, how best to
pitch you,
market yourself. Yeah,
I think it's not going to hurt, is it? But I suppose in the flip side, it's like if you have a British actor who is British, obviously, and they just do that innately because that's them, that's their essence. I would assume you're going to go more towards that person than, say, someone else who's just putting it on.
Yeah, but just because I find with any accent, it's very I think actors find it challenging to perfect it to a level where it's
indistinguishable.
From a native.
Yeah, if we pull you out of the story, then we've kind of lost the audience because they're going, wait, that doesn't sound Scouse or whatever it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay. Next victim. Let's see if that's worked. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both doing?
Good.
Thank you.
Over to you. Say hi to Faye and ask away whatever question you've got. It's your time.
Fantastic. So the question I wanted to ask.
We met the other day, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And it's really nice that I got the
Nice to meet you
opportunity
again.
to. Yeah, because it was the monologue. But I'm really glad I got this opportunity to actually ask you a question. So
Yeah, of
thanks for
course.
letting me do this again.
No,
So
see you again.
my question was, in an audition, say, what have you noticed about an actor who comes across as maybe forced and doing too much compared to, say, an actor that isn't doing enough? And then when have you noticed when an actor, is just right and is authentic? I mean, it's quite a big question, but that's sort of what I'm trying to improve on at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's very easy, especially when you're meeting actors who have a grounding in theatre, and we see it quite a lot. I think where they're maybe slightly overplaying it. I think it's very easy to give people the right note in the room to kind of bring them down. Also, I think nerves have a huge impact on people overplaying.
Yeah.
They're nervous, and so to compensate for the nerves, they do too much.
Yeah.
I think it happens. I think it happens all the time. And I think maybe one of the best ways, especially if you're auditioning for screen, one of the smartest ways you can work on that would be to record yourself at home.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And watch it back. Because remember that something that you might, a Shakespeare monologue that you might perform on stage at the Globe, when you watch yourself doing it on camera, the camera picks up every minute detail. So the minute you, I don't know, blink or like slightly wiggle your nose, or your smile extends like a quarter of an inch the corner of your mouth. I mean it picks up everything. So I think a great way to kind of perfect that is to film yourself and keep watching it back,
and then sort of notice where kind of you feel it's real and where you feel that it's a little bit fake and forced.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think it comes down to kind of just connecting with the dialogue as well, and connecting with the character, and connecting with what it is that you're saying. And I think us as a casting office, or especially me, what I'm always searching for is a sense of truth.
Yeah.
That's really all we want, to listen to someone's, or to watch someone's performance and to believe them, and to feel connected, and to feel that they are that person. And I think that just comes over time. And I think the more research you do when you're prepping for a role, and the more information you can obtain in terms of character backstory, and that will help. That will inspire and affect that performance.
And it's interesting the thing you said about it taking time, because even sort of recently when I've done things, I've been like, oh, there's still so much more work that I can do on that, and then I find new ways to improve that. So it's I guess that the thing about, you can never really stop learning and improving certain aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, especially for screen auditions, being off book helps, and we really don't say that to be tyrants. It's not. I'd hate to think that it's a challenge in line learning, and lots of actors I know are dyslexic, and so they really struggle to learn lines. But what it enables you to do is detach from focusing on reading the lines, and instead to feel them, to live and breathe them, and to live and breathe that character and their story and their journey. And what I tend to find is that actors that come in that aren't off book are more often than not distracted. They then find it difficult to take notes and take directions, because they're so attached to the dialogue in front of them.
Yeah. And I guess sort of do actors tend to sort of think about, oh, what's the next line when they have the script, whereas when they don't have it, they're just kind of in the moment.
They're anticipating the line rather than listening and thinking and feeling about that and that impetus.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. So that would be a little bit of advice.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's good. I haven't really sort of practiced sort of watching myself back enough, so that's what I'll try and do, and kind of be in the moment a little bit more.
Yeah. Cool. Great.
Fantastic.
Well, nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again. Thank you for having me as well, Ashley. And
no worries.
All right, no problem. Stay safe.
See you later. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. It's something I spoke with Richard about when he was on a few weeks ago, because he was saying with We Audition, I think they're looking to bring in a feature which is just going to be called like workouts, where it's free and you just go in and you find another actor wherever the hell they are, and I think you get like 15 minutes to just get the sides, you try and learn them, but then you just each day are training on webcam, but it's still better than nothing, and it's just putting in those hours, I guess, those reps.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, next, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Hopefully you can hear us, or me.
Mm-hmm. While that's connecting, I'm just going to get my charger.
Yeah, go for it. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I was just emailing you there saying I was going to have to jump off about 20 past.
No, I didn't see it. I was in the middle of it. Faye is here, but she's gone to get her charger, so she'll be right back.
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. How are you? You're working on the
I'm
front
all right.
lines.
I'm just sat viewing the Mersey River, waiting to go into work in a short time. So yeah.
Are you
I'm
a
okay.
nurse on the front lines at the moment?
I'm a nurse, taken kind of onto a different front line.
Right.
So at the moment I work in the emergency preparedness resilience response team.
Okay.
Basically with the military, trying to get things out and do what we can and offer advice when we can. So yeah, weird times.
How are you holding up with it? It must be intense.
It is intense. Yeah, I'm holding up okay. Yeah, for now.
Yeah. The longer it goes on, who knows? But no, it's awesome. I mean, it sounds twee for me to say thank you for doing it, so I don't really want to say that because it doesn't mean anything. But just, I guess, respect maybe more than anything, because it's your job. You do it anyway, but you're out there kind of doing everything whilst we're indoors, keeping safe. So it's not many people would do it, I'm sure, put it that way.
Thank you. It's a great job, and everybody that's staying indoors is keeping us safe as well. And I mean, I was just thinking about Faye and all the stuff she's done online. This is so good for actors in the industry and people's resilience, really. Respect that.
Absolutely. Anyway, what is your question or questions for Faye? Your time.
Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. We've met before, haven't we?
Yeah, it was at a casting workshop a couple of months ago in Manchester.
Yeah, I thought so. Nice to see you. How's it all going? I've just been listening to you about your work. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's going. I think it's just a case at the moment of getting through the tasks and getting through the hour and doing what we can, every one of us, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot. But thank you. Feels a little bit fruitless to say, but thank you. It's so appreciated.
You too.
How can I help?
I was noting everything that you're doing for the industry. So cheers, honestly.
Oh my gosh,
because you're constantly there helping folk. So my question, when I met you, we did a scene together, and you, at the end of it, you said, what I would do, Michelle, is I would advise you to go away and try something. Anyway, I did. I've done a bit of work on that, and you suggested I might try to be a little bit otherworldly. which was fab. And it was nice to come away with something to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was listening to your colleague Sophie last week, and she was talking about series that you've cast and will possibly be casting in the future. So my question is around that. So, for example, you've cast The Witcher. If you were about to do that again, would you so I had this idea of going out, getting a showreel scene done that's based around something similar. So getting a showreel scene written, getting a costume, going into the woods or something like that, and having a specific scene. And I'm quite new to acting, so my question is really, what would a casting director think of that?
I suppose, just to be candid, actually, even though The Witcher, for example, is a, you know, it's obviously comes from the fantasy genre, all of the performances feel very real and truthful and grounded in naturalism. And I think that I'm sure that people have had a lot of fun, you know, kind of dressing up and shooting fantasy scenes. And, you know, we've had things, people have just sent in random scenes that they've filmed with dialogue from the books. And, you know, there's nothing we love more than casting someone who's a fan of that world. But I would argue that you just don't need all the bells and whistles. You know,
Okay.
it's our job to see past that. We can see, you know, when we can see a really good performance, and you know, it's our job to pick you up and put you in that world, you know, in costume and surrounded by, you know, a hell of a lot of CGI potentially. But I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't waste your time and money and energy, and actually what I love more than anything really is just a monologue to camera.
Yeah.
But just because, to be really frank, with a monologue to camera, there is nowhere for you to hide.
Makes sense.
It's there, and it's stripped back, and it's bare, and yeah, we will see whether it's good or not.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. As I say, I'm new to this gig.
No, for sure. But more than anything, I would just, you know, whether that means you write something yourself because you want to kind of channel your creativity into something different, maybe writing, or if you just pick a monologue that really speaks to you, that you connect with, just finding something that resonates with you, I think, is really important, because that's where you're going to give your best performance. If it's something that you connect with on a personal level, that's when we're going to get the best out of you.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Faye.
You're welcome. Nice to see you again.
You too. Take
Stay
care.
safe.
See you later. Stay well, Michelle.
You too. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye, love.
Bye. Nothing like a bit of perspective, I think, as well. That's like, here we are. I was just saying to her, here we are chilling in our homes, just chatting away. And
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, yes, that thing that is still happening out there. And she's braving the front lines. And yeah, respect, I think, is all we can give to all of them.
Massive respect.
Right. Let's bring in the final person. So hopefully Mike will join us now.
Awesome.
Hey, Mike.
There we go.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Faye. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm good. So, as I've come to say now, surviving one day at a time.
Great. I love that.
I think that's all we really can do now. How are you, Ash?
I'm all right, but I'm going to shut up because I've been talking to Faye for a while, so it's your time to let me relax my vocal cords, and you can take over.
I can take over, can I?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it's funny how I guess given this sort of time that we've all got to think, it's kind of got me thinking about just a couple of questions actually. I suppose one of them, and if Ash has already asked this, I apologize. But I think one of the things that I'm kind of curious about now is we're always in this industry where things are changing constantly anyway, and obviously, given the fact now that it's become a lot harder, I'm just curious about what kind of challenges do you find being in casting, and particularly like what do you enjoy about it, what do you not enjoy about it? Just to kind of get an insight into sort of that area.
Yeah, of course. What do I not enjoy about it? Very little, actually. I think what hurts my soul a little bit is, let's say for argument's sake, you've got two incredible actors that are right down to final recalls for a leading role, and neither of them does anything wrong, and they both give really heartfelt skill to performances, but maybe they bring something different. So I suppose, to use this metaphor, one is ice and one is fire, and really then it just comes down to personal taste, and your taste might not align with that of the director or the creative team, so giving that no is really hard. That's really hard, and I suppose I just take comfort in the fact that, you know, you hope to find another home for that actor with another role further down the line somewhere. So yeah, that's tough.
It's kind of interesting hearing you say that, because sometimes I think it's easy to forget that when you're in the room with you guys, like, your casting director is on your side, you know.
Oh gosh, of course.
You know, and it is having that, building that relationship, and that, you know, if you've got someone there who's really sort of in your corner, and you know, as you said, because it doesn't align with the vision of the producers or the directors or whatever.
And I think as well it's important to say, and we've definitely been trying to reinforce the idea that, you know, we really want you to succeed, and we want you to get the job, and we want you to come in and give a great performance, and that is so true. And you are right, from the moment you step into our office, we are on your side if you want to be there. If you want to be there and you've worked really hard and you've prepped and you're off book and you come and you're enthusiastic and you bring great energy, we couldn't be more on your side. If you come in and you haven't bothered to learn the lines, you haven't read the script, and you've got a bit of a chip on your shoulder because for whatever reason you feel like the role is beneath you and you don't really want to be there, then we're probably not on your side, because you're wasting our time.
It's kind of funny, because that was kind of one of the other questions that I had, actually, was that as from your perspective, as certainly as a casting director now, and obviously as a former agent, like, what qualities do you think makes an actor stand out? And actually, I know you've already just touched upon a few of them there, like obviously going in, doing the work, learning your lines, but like, is there anything else that you think can, like, we can sort of help ourselves in some respects?
I think, you know, your agent's done, or we've done with your agent half the job. You know, you're there and you're about to go into the room, and the best way to help yourselves is, you know, just to be enthusiastic and to be kind, and to listen as well. I think lots of actors come in and they fail to listen, and be malleable, and, you know, take direction well, and come in with an idea of what it is you want to present or what you want to say about that character, but be ready to throw that idea out of the window if we throw something else to you, you know. And that kind of mentality, I think, takes time and takes practice.
It is nice kind of just getting this perspective from different perspectives from different casting directors, you know, because I mean, you guys have all got your different ways of conducting auditions and things, but I think for me, it's kind of just getting that information to kind of reinforce that casting director actor relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and I think certainly from my perspective, and like I say, it's lovely hearing you say it, is that it's good to build that relationship and work on it and actually have that and know that we're there championing. You know, if I remember somebody once said to me, you know, if you're in the room, it means that you've already seen something.
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And so then it's all about just going in, doing your work, as you said, doing the work, being prepared, putting out the ideas, and then going, okay, this is what it is. I'll leave it in the hands of the gods, actually.
That's so true. And I think it goes back to what I was saying to Ash earlier, which is, you know, ultimately, you know, we already think you can do the job and that's why you're there. And then we're just looking for someone that realistically we can put on set that people are going to want to work with. And you might come in with a really bold choice, and for whatever reason it doesn't, you know, maybe it doesn't align with our vision of the character, or maybe the director's vision of the character. But if you're willing to listen and take notes, and you can respond well to direction, and, you know, throw your preconceived ideas of what that character's like out of the window and go in a very different direction, then great, you've done the job, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, I always find that those are sort of my main, I guess my main questions and my main points, you know, just to kind of get that little bit more understanding. Yeah, thank you for that, Faye. I really appreciate that.
No worries. Really nice to meet you. Thank you.
Really nice to meet you too. And thank you, Ash, for putting all this together as well.
I mean, it's just great to talk to people generally anyway. I was doing it, and then I saw that these guys were taking off and thought, let's try and talk to some casting people and get some insights. And I'm being real, like, it's great for me too. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm not getting something out of it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you both. Stay safe, everyone.
You too.
Thanks, Mike. You
Take
too.
care.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. It's the numbers game, I think, isn't it, Faye? It's like, you know, on average, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but how many submissions would you get for an individual role? It's in the thousands. Clearly, it's got 6,000, 7,000 sometimes if it's like a huge role, right?
It depends what we're asking for. If what we're asking for is quite specific, then there would be less. But yeah, on average, like over 1,000 submissions. Yeah.
So can we quickly, I'm mindful of time, but I think it'd be interesting just at the end here, the process. I think actors know it or maybe heard about it, but just really quickly, from your point of view, let's say you get 1,000 submissions through and they've come through on Spotlight. What are you seeing? Like, what does that look like on your side? What's your process a little bit, just to kind of then actors can then see how does it go from that to coming into a room to then maybe eventually getting a job?
Yeah. I mean, really as well, we rely very heavily on agents to steer us in the right direction. And I suppose, just to be really candid, there are agents that are just sat at a desk, you know, clicking a button and submitting their clients on Spotlight. And then there are those agents that are, you know, picking up the phone and really pitching and sending us material. And they are really, they're helping, and the truth is that when that happens, you know, their clients are more likely to get in the room. I think it also comes down to trust. You know, you build relationships with agents over time based on trust, based on previous submissions that have worked out well, and also I think it comes down to taste as well, and every casting office is different, and everyone has a different taste. And, you know, I like something very very detailed, and I like a very nuanced and smart performance. Some people like something a little broader. It really varies, and so I'm relying on the agents, and you know, that feeds into agents taking you out to the theatre to see their clients, or taking you to film screenings, or, you know, sending showreel footage clips. You know, not just the spotlight submissions, there are a whole other multitude of ways we might meet actors, people that are unrepresented that have written in that we might think, okay, well, we don't know their work, let's give them a chance and see what they can do. Actors that I've met doing workshops have come in for meetings and have subsequently been cast. A whole, actors whose work I've seen in the theatre, even if I'm not with their agent. I watch a hell of a lot of television and film as well. So I kind of try and
I guess you've always got your casting hat on, would be the thing, right?
I think we all do. And I just I try and watch as much as I can. I think that's part of the responsibility of the job is to have really an encyclopedic knowledge of as many actors as you can that are working or even not working at any given time, and knowing what people are up to the point where you don't need to call and ask their agent because they're not available, because they've got a semi-reg on a TV series, and that option's just been picked up, or you get to know people's lists very well, especially those that are in constant contact or aggressively pitching their clients on the phone.
and I mean, that's a thing, right? The agent has always been important, but if anything more so now than ever, because there's a different vibe for an actor to reach out to you versus an agent to pitch the actor. It's just by default. Not that actors, I guess, aren't welcome to, as you were saying, send their stuff in, especially if they're unrepresented.
Yeah.
But really, I guess, if we're being sort of candid about it, it's the agent casting relationships that you're looking at to say, okay, well, that agent reps that person. I trust that agent's taste aligns with my taste. And it's more of a thing from that perspective, I guess, right?
It is, and I guess as well, it's just a kind of filtration system, really, because if every actor was writing into us, I mean, we'd have hundreds of thousands of emails every day. I mean, it would be impossible. So there has to be some sort of process, I guess, in that sense. I mean, I don't mind actors writing in at all, and I really do try and read everyone's emails and watch everything that everyone sends, and unfortunately that's not always possible. I think though also, when you're signing with an agent, you have to trust them. You have to trust that they're doing a good job for you, because I think if you trust your agent, there's no need to reach out directly to a casting director per se. And I think that some agents probably find that when actors do that, especially if they are doing a good job for them, it kind of undermines them in a way. So when actors ask me about writing, and I always say, I think if you're represented, that's a conversation you should in the first instance have with your agent, and figure out a way that works for both of you, so that they don't feel undermined or they don't feel like you're undercutting them, but also so that you feel like you're still being productive.
Yeah.
And it's all about balance.
And you're working together. It's not, you don't work for them, they don't work for you.
No, it's a partnership. Exactly.
But I mean, I know I've found, I'm sure many have, sometimes you have to go through a few agents, like it's, again, like dating. Eventually you go through a few
frogs to find your prince.
Exactly. And then eventually you find, and the prince isn't always what you expect, or the biggest, flashiest one with a Lambo. That myth we can break now. Like, it's maybe the one you just vibe with better. And that's the main thing. It's definitely more about that than, what does their business card say per se? How do they fit with you?
And some of the agents that I have, the best and strongest relationships are running small boutique agencies.
Sure. Awesome. Okay. We could go on and on and on, but we have things to do, and you have a life outside of casting, so I'm sure you want to enjoy some of it. So before we go, what I like to do to wrap this up is I do 10 quick fire questions at the end that I basically just swipe from inside the actor studio. So
Ooh.
if you remember those questions, you
No.
know inside the actor studio, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The number of people that come on and they're like, I've never heard of that show.
No.
Like, oh.
But I'm nervous now about these questions, but fire away.
Oh, good. See, this proves that, casting people get nervous too. So now
My gosh, of course.
I'm helping us actors realize the human side of
Yeah.
Faye. First question is super simple. It's, what is your favorite word?
Beige.
Ooh, okay. What's your least favorite word?
Lovely.
Oh,
Mm.
I wonder how many people that's their favorite word as well.
Mm.
That's interesting. I'm not going to pull on that thread. I feel like there's a whole conversation there that probably is better saved for another time. Third question is, what turns you on in a creative, intellectual, spiritual kind of a way?
Mm. I love hearing about other creatives' processes. So I met James Graham the other day virtually. Who's I don't know if you know, he's an incredible playwright and screenwriter. He just wrote Quiz that's just been on ITV.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I loved listening to him talk about his writing process.
Okay.
Because it's just so different to a casting process.
I'm intrigued. I don't want to extend this question now. Super quick, like any nuggets, because I say that from when I sit down and write, it's the most painful thing in the world. So
I think it was just like hearing I could hear the passion in his voice, and when he was talking, articulating, what his impetus is for writing, and what motivates him, and what inspires him, what he likes to write about. And interestingly, he was saying, it's wanting to tell stories, and wanting to say something, whether that's socio-economical, political, but wanting to make a point, I guess. And then the characters you kind of build around.
It's true. It's what they say. Plot comes first, characters then come after that, right?
Yeah.
And, but I like what you said about having something to say, because we all have a voice, and I think if we're an artist, or anybody, we're all artists really, if you want to go down that road. Like, we all have a voice and we all deserve to express it and not feel like we don't have the chance to do that. And the vehicle is, I guess, then for us to pick, whether it's writing or acting or casting. Like, again, with you guys, your voice comes through by the taste that you have in individual people and how you see the world. And expressing that is everything. Okay, rant over.
No, all good.
The next question is the flip. What turns you off then?
Just about the creative process in general.
I guess generally, sort of intellectually, creatively, anything in life, I suppose. Whatever's your big bugbear.
Oh, I guess just on a very basic level, people that are unkind.
I think that's enough.
Yeah.
I make question 5 optional because question 5 is, what's your favorite swear word? And so I appreciate that for some people it might not be something they want to say or isn't on brand.
I won't say it because I don't want to offend anyone, but it's definitely the C word.
Fine. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Next question. What's your? Well, I swear like a chimney, but even that one, I'm like, ooh, that's for certain people only. That's like we save that one. What's your favorite sound or noise?
Can this include music?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. It's a sound.
Gosh. Sound.
Oh, we say music in general?
No, I don't know. I love listening to I could sit and listen to like a pianist all day.
A good one.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
someone like Jan Tiersen in concert would be a dream for me.
Does it not depend like what, because sometimes like if you listen to say Ludovic Einaudi, for example, who's amazing, but sometimes after like an hour you're like, I don't know where this is taking me emotionally.
Yeah. Or like Hans Zimmer, who's just like one of my favorite composers of all time, as I'm sure he is a lot of people's.
Yeah.
I could just listen to his soundscapes all day, I think.
Have you seen his stuff where he's done the live orchestral versions of all of his different movie scores?
I confess I have not.
Oh wow, you should
but
YouTube that at some point when
Yeah.
we're in lockdown. He goes through all of them: Pirates, Inception, Batman, but he plays them in a live orchestral setting.
Wow.
And you're like, oh wow, this is epic. Epic.
Amazing.
Okay, almost there. Final 3 questions. So what job or profession would you most want to do aside from the ones you've already done or are doing?
Probably midwifery.
Okay. What job would you, under no circumstances, ever want to do?
Be a politician.
Enough said.
Yeah.
It's a thankless task. And you started out earlier by saying that you and Sophie are both a little bit on the sort of left socialist side, so that makes
Yeah.
Okay, final question. When it's all said and done, all the smoke's cleared, what would you like the story of your life to be?
Do you mean what would I like the narrative to be, or how would I like to be remembered?
Yeah,
or...
like how would you like to be remembered if someone was going to write like, an obituary or an epitaph? What would you, how would you like to be remembered? What's your legacy ideally going to look like?
Gosh, I imagine hopefully someone that was kind, who sought to give everyone equal opportunities would be quite nice, because I think that's something I strive for both on a personal level and also in terms of my work. And I also have a wicked sense of humour, so I'd quite like to be remembered as being hilarious.
I think that's a nice mix. Someone with a great sense of humor who also had the kindness to say, I didn't mean it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I think the kindness and the giving back and all of that definitely shines through, and obviously is being seen just in a small morsel with what you've been doing with Sophie. And it's been really awesome chatting to you and just to get a little bit more insight as to not just what you do as an office, but a little bit about who you are as a person. And I think people probably really enjoy seeing all of that when we put this out there. So thank you so much. Final little moment for you, I guess. Anything you want to leave people with as a closing remark, and I guess shout out to where they can catch you and find you and connect with you on social.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. Like, this has been such a pleasure. I guess just don't give up. Sometimes I really think this industry is all just about right place, right time, right fit. And you really never know when that moment's going to come. But if you believe in your heart, really, that you were born to be an actor, and ultimately there's just nothing else you could do that would make you happier or satisfy you in the same way. And I really don't mean that in terms of achieving fame or success, but something that really just is part of who you are to the core, being a performer and telling stories, which I think is really just at the heart of acting, is wanting to tell stories. Just don't give up. Just
Awesome.
don't give up.
Oh, yeah. Faye, thank you so much.
No worries. You're welcome.
Right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend and your chocolate and wine and all the fun stuff.
I will. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
I wasn't worried. Not 1 second. Okay. Take care. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.